Okay, we're recording. Well, thanks, Meg, for showing up, even when you're releasing emotions from your intercostal diaphragm release session.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. It's maybe the best time to show up. Maybe I'll be extra vulnerable. Maybe things will just come spewing out of me.
Maybe if I make more fart and poop jokes, you'll be more like, you'll just like die laughing. Like the best time to like get the
There.
good belly laughs out.
Yes, please. Because now I can actually get the belly laugh out because I can get those deep breaths and also the full exhale.
The expansive movement. Well, we
Yes.
could start with a little breathing thing, so that you
Mm,
guys can test where you're stuck.
let's. I love that idea.
Okay.
Your joke was funny. I just posted today, if I was a car, every time I cough or sneeze, my radiator leaks and my exhaust backfires.
Yeah, it is really funny when people cough and fart at the same time. It's quite delightful.
Okay, but let's have a small time out and talk about my dad and what he used to do when he would fart in the car with me is he would try to cough to cover it up. He wasn't coughing and it caused a fart. He would fart and then be like,
My dad didn't cover it up. It's in Spanish, they call it sin vergüenza. It means no shame. They just do it. There's no
lift
shame.
the cheek.
My family always said better out than in. I had an aunt that was too proud to fart, and it actually got, she held it so long that it caused medical issues.
I bet it did. You can't hold
Yeah,
that stuff forever.
No,
yeah.
never good for anyone to hold in farts.
No, you gotta let that gas out.
But did you notice? I think I might have told Meg about this. During COVID, like the time away from people, I did notice that like my manners like went really low. Like my ability to hold in burps or farts, like I just let them fly. I'm like, what am I gonna do around like picking my nose? What I have to like go back to charm school so I can be around society.
You need the book of manners.
Oh, that's funny. So, well, our little question here is, what is blow it up energy?
Mm-hmm.
And
Tell
you
us.
have chatted about this, and I discovered this magic tool in the beginning of my journey to sobriety, and it was an awareness of my pattern. So I was a
Mm-hmm.
binge drinker,
Mm-hmm.
so I could go weeks, months without drinking anything, but it was this internal pressure that built up of not processing my feelings, people pleasing, saying yes too much. I wasn't aware of how many balls I had in the air until it was too late.
Mm-hmm. It's
Um,
so true.
so,
Mm,
and because of my behavior, that I saw myself as a bad person, and the only way that I could justify my bad behavior is by saying yes all the time so that nobody could say I was selfish or like it's I've talked about this with many people actually, that they have a grandma. The grandma is a raging alcoholic, but the grandma gives amazing Christmas gifts and sends Christmas cards and birthday cards and says really shitty things at holidays. But she makes up for it, like, because like the shit goes like this in the scales. So people let her slide. So it's kind of like
mm-hmm.
that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
because of my internal like hating myself and not liking my behavior, then I would just overcompensate. So this time that I
Right.
wasn't drinking, this like it generally was about 6 to 8 weeks that I could hold off before like my internal pressure would
Mm-hmm.
be like I on my little scale of it would go fuck it. And then I would
Mm-hmm.
have to completely ghost everyone for several days, and just drop everything anyway.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So in my early sobriety, realizing, okay, so I don't want to have that. Like I need to be able to think about what it is I actually want to do when somebody asks me.
Right. You need the meter.
Yeah, and if I can't, if I feel like if I say yes to something and I'm gonna feel resentful about it or regret it, then the answer should be no.
The answer is no. If
The
it's
answer,
not a heck yes, then it's no.
yeah.
It's really hard to get into that mode when you're so used to people pleasing. It's really challenging because we become so accustomed to just doing all the things that we think other people that we should be doing. Again, we're shoulding all over ourselves that we should be doing for other people because other people want us to, because other people need us to. I mean, they're just, the list goes on and on. It's endless. And if we don't draw a line, then this is what happens. We become completely overwhelmed with all the things we've said yes to. And then I'm at a place and I'm super mad that I'm there and I don't even want to be there. And then I'm being crappy to the people I'm with because I've pushed myself beyond, like I've sacrificed something that's important to me in order to, be sure that everyone else is okay.
When did you become aware of that pattern in yourself?
Not until after I was divorced.
So it took that.
It took that for me because there were things that John would say to me when I was married, and he was so insightful. I just I wasn't able to receive them, at that time. And, but he would say things like, nothing's ever good enough for you. Like, it's never, and I thought he meant that I was being critical of him. And sometimes I was, but it was always that I was pushing, like the next thing or the next thing, or like I would stay up, I would overcommit myself to like school events and wind up staying up till like 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning doing things for like a volunteer committee. And I I would get there and I would be just exhausted, not the fun loving person that I wanted to be when the final event came around. So yeah, it took me to get divorced and be like, and well, to see so many things in myself. But that was one of them.
Well, and you have such a graceful way of letting people know what your schedule looks like. You're like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm busy these days,"
Mm-hmm.
because your priorities have changed so much.
So much. And I know now that I have them and that I must have them and that it's okay to have them. Because before it wasn't okay for me, in my own mind, for me to have those types of priorities, like to have things be important to me, to put something on my schedule first.
Yeah. So this is my question to everybody listening. What do you currently prioritize? And then like what is taking up your time?
That's such a good question because they're very different things, right? I mean, they can be very different things because a lot of times people will say what their priorities are, but then they won't actually commit fully to that, and then you wind up taking on other things and filling in the gaps, so to speak, where you could be doing it to, towards something that's more of a priority. Like you could be filling that gap with something that might be um, filling a bucket for you or something that you've been saying is a goal of yours for a long time. But then you're always like, I don't know when I'll have time to do it. But like then people find themselves scrolling, or mine is cleaning. I'm sure I've said that before, but mine would be like, I was just going to scrub the bathroom because it feels so good.
I know. I know it's such an immediate like what is it? The validation.
Yeah, immediate, instant gratification.
Mm.
Totally.
So I invite you guys, if you're listening now or if you're listening later, write out your top 5 priorities. Like, I want to know what's your top 5 priorities. And then I want you to think about, is that what you're actually doing in your life?
Mm-hmm. I have a
Like,
really good suggestion for if it's not. I have a beautiful way to implement the priorities in a very, like a graceful way, as you said. Like we just kind of ease into it, right? Because it can seem overwhelming, like,
tell us.
how,
Don't hold back.
how am I
What is
going
it?
to do all these things? And it's very simple. Like, let's just choose. Okay, what did you say? The top 5 priorities? Okay, I like that number too. And I'd say absolutely no more than 5, and anywhere from 3 to 5 when you're beginning. And then what you can do is just spend 10 minutes each day, either first thing in the morning. I like first thing in the morning and last thing at night before you go to bed. 10 minutes each of those times doing something toward. So now I'm not saying like you got to spend an hour a day, right? We're talking 30 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, even if it's 5 minutes. It's just to get the momentum going, to make it a habit, to like or to create those new neural pathways, that this is something new that you're now going to implement in your life on a regular basis. And in the morning and at night is when we're closest to being into that subconscious brainwave length, so it will embed more deeply there. We're closer to that threshold where things will be more habitual.
Yeah, like you could habit stack around brushing your teeth.
Exactly. And so when you brush your teeth, now I like to do the thing like then that I want. Like in the morning, if I want coffee, then I have to do my 2 things, my 2 morning things, or my 20 minutes or 25 minutes of morning things before I have my coffee. And it's just, or at the same time, like if it's journaling, or something like that. But it can be something as simple as, if you want to invest, if you want to learn about investing money, that was a big thing for me this year. Then I would listen to a podcast or I'd read an article. It's nothing that has to be life-changing in that moment, but the little moments add up to things that I've learned so much, and it's been super beneficial for me. And then I get to teach my kids too.
Right? Instead of just overspending and hiding credit card bills from your person. My mom.
And then instead of being mad that I didn't do it, right? Or instead of being like, it's too much, it's too overwhelming, I'll never do it, I'll never be able to understand this, I never will if I don't take one step toward it. You're right, I won't. What were you going to say? You were going to tell a funny story about your mom?
Oh, I love funny stories about my mother. So, before we'd get home from school, on the way to school, she'd say, "Now, if you're home before me and your dad gets home, that means you need to go to the mailbox before your dad, so you can get the credit card bills."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was funny. I
I
know.
love
So
your
that
mother.
I didn't realize that was
A thing.
mm-hmm. It's like, wow, fun.
Okay.
So talking about self-care,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of my highest priorities. And I know people will say, I wish it was one of my highest priorities,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it means you respect yourself. You respect
Right.
your mental health.
I was just gonna ask you, define what self-care is, because some people are like, I don't really want to take a bath or like get a pedicure. And I don't think that that's what it is for me. So what is it for
Yeah,
you?
it's not waxing my vagina
Mm-hmm.
because I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, no, for me, it's giving myself time in the morning so that I can like relax and go outside and listen to the birds and drink my tea, do a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of stretching. I might journal. I just want to be able to breathe and have that time in the morning to like use the restroom. Like
Yes.
amazing. So,
Some nice quiet time.
and I was a massage therapist for a long time and a rolfer, and I was at work at 7:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a really good friend who's a massage therapist, and she goes, anyone that has any kind of self-care does not leave the house by 10. Like, how can you go to the bathroom and do yoga?
Well,
If
I
you're,
get up at 5 a.m.
I mean, not everybody can do that because they have normal jobs, but I mean, you have to get up early enough so that you can have that time to yourself.
Which means I'm going to bed early enough too.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for me this year. I still sometimes struggle with it, but I'm so much better than I used to be. I mean, I'm sometimes asleep by 10:30. Unheard of.
Amazing.
I used to be a 1 a.m.er.
Yeah, I'm in bed by 9:15 and I'm asleep by 10:30.
It's so essential.
It's very important, that sleep situation, but it does come down to self-respect and boundaries, which I know is one of your favorite topics, is the secret tools of self-respect.
Yes.
Magic tools of self-respect. And they don't have to be like these hard line type boundaries. They can just be things like start with boundaries for yourself. Like,
Exactly.
get on time.
I'm going to set a boundary for me. And then I'm going to prove that I trust myself, or that I can trust myself, by adhering to that and sticking to it. And I agree with you. Boundaries are so frequently thought of as like these huge walls, or like hard lines, or like stay away, or like keep people out. But I really think if we have boundaries and they're clear, and we're clear about what's important to us, we can communicate that to others, and that actually fosters a deeper connection and greater intimacy, not the opposite.
Yeah.
Boundaries and self-care are my two hardest things. And I'll tell you a scenario that's happened to me recently is I'm in charge of a Facebook group that's a volunteer deal with people that have been on a health journey with me. And we had a mindset coach in the program that I was in before, and she was let go. So all of a sudden, I was being bombarded with conversations of I needed to figure out a way to connect with this mindset coach outside of her losing her job. And I needed to figure out a way to start a Zoom call for all the Wednesday people that met every Wednesday at 1:00 to talk about their emotions. And I needed to do this, that, and the other. And I needed to remove certain people that were in the group that used to work with us late. And it kept snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. And this is all while I've been dealing with pneumonia and, just constant coughing and everything. So my girlfriend has a machine that analyzes the frequencies in your body. And I send her a voice recording every morning. And it can tell me, when my Lyme disease is active, when certain parasites are moving around. It can tell me, what my organs are doing. It can tell me when I'm dehydrated, pretty much a lot of stuff. Well, throughout this last probably 6 weeks, almost every day, it's been flagging my emotions, my lack of confidence, my anger, my, holding things in, just all that kind of stuff. And, she's been fussing with me in a nice way, that I was not going to heal with not my pneumonia, because she feels like a lot of the coughing and everything that I've been having for the 6 weeks was due to the stress in the situation that I was under, and the lack of boundaries, and what I have here at home, living with my parents. So it wasn't till yesterday that kind of the energy blew up, and I was like, okay, I don't have to be everything to everybody. Number one, this is a volunteer thing that I took on myself. to keep a group of people together that we all started a health journey 3 years ago, and it had just I became everybody's ping pong ball, you know, um, insisting that I do this, I do that, you know, um, to satisfy their um, emotional upset over the situations that were happening.
Mhm.
I'm so glad that you've come to the realization that you don't have to do those things.
Me too.
Well, Kim, I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. So, because I know, being raised in the church, right? We're taught, the ones that burn the candle at both ends, those are the ones that are really like respected.
Right.
Really good. They're really good people.
Like the more ragged, the better.
Totally. Absolutely.
Does it feel like that's how you're showing up? Like you're being of service, and that means you need to sacrifice your comfort?
Yep. You got it.
Well, I mean, so it falls under the category of you're building resentment, right? And it's affecting your health. So it means it's a no, that we need somebody else to step up.
Mm-hmm.
And how long can a person serve in this capacity? It should be shared. Like whose turn is it now?
Right. And that's when it's important that we teach other people by our actions and what we do say yes to and what we say no to. Our lives are constantly being shaped by what we say yes to and what we say no to. And I know that all of us here do want to show up in the best way possible, with the best heart possible, with the best energy possible, in the best version of ourselves possible. And I know that for me, I can't do that if I'm just completely depleted. And then I wind up not liking myself because I
Yeah.
don't like who I'm being in relationship to whatever it is I'm doing, right? And so a good measure of success for me is not like did I make the ultimate goal, or like did I reach the highest point, right? My measure of success frequently is, do I like who I'm being in relationship to the thing? So like if with money, let's go back to the money example. Do I like, or my finances and learning about investing, do I like who I'm being in relationship to investing? And right now my answer is yes, because I'm learning about it and I'm putting my money in different places. And, like, do I like who I'm being in my relationship with my kids, or in my relationship with my clients, or in my relationship with my partner? Not just, am I being the best and am I doing it all? But do I like who I am being? And that is a great assessment tool, because I might not like who I'm being when I think I'm doing all the things I quote unquote should be doing. I didn't actually wind up liking who I would be, because I'd be snotty and snooty, and I'd be super short, and people would frequently wonder what the heck was the matter, because nobody knew, of course, because I'm pretending that I want to be doing all the things that I'm doing, right?
Well,
I think I'm analyzing, when did I put myself in the rescuer role, and
That's such a
how
good
to,
question, Donna.
how to set boundaries around that.
yeah. Do you have the ACA workbook, the yellow one?
No.
I'm pretty sure you can find it, the PDF of it, just online. You don't necessarily need to buy it if you just look up the ACA steps. I really like the yellow workbook though, because it really goes into those patterns and characteristics and who you were cast as from a young age,
Mm,
you know?
What ACA stand for when I Google it?
Adult children of alcoholics and adversary.
Okay.
They changed it from sometimes
ACOA.
it'll just say adult children of alcoholics. That's the original, but they
Mm-hmm.
changed
Okay.
it to adversary so that because it blankets more people.
Yeah, not just alcoholics, but
Yeah. It just
mm-hmm.
means that somebody along the line in your genealogy was raised by an asshole and
Yep.
then turned their parents into an asshole, and then it made us into assholes.
Not intentionally. It just is what happened.
Yeah, it's funny the different.
Generational curse, huh?
Yeah, and as soon as we become aware of it, we have a choice.
Exactly. And even if, like, even if you weren't, like, I wouldn't say that I would ever label myself as someone that was an alcoholic, but I had those tendencies, like not toward drinking or toward, substances. I mean, in college, yes, but I think most people do. Um, However, it would be more just the tendencies to like overindulge in anything, to just like to numb out.
Yeah, it's most people going in that direction. There's I think I could pull it up or I can email it to you. That's what I'll do. I'll send it to you guys. There's this beautiful diagram that shows you like the family trees
Mm-hmm.
of obsessive compulsive behaviors. So it's like
Mm,
very small group is actually like behavioral substance abuse. And then
mm-hmm.
there's like the overthinkers or the over emotional.
Yes, exactly.
So there's different families on this whole like tree
Yeah,
of where you've been using, like actions or behaviors or thinking to avoid your feelings or communicating with others.
absolutely. To
Mhm.
avoid communicating with others, and then the feelings that I had around not communicating with others, which would always feel like sadness or but what I'm realizing most recently is that like I would find myself in a situation where I might want to laugh and I wouldn't allow myself to do it, or like, and I know that if I'm not allowing myself to experience like real sadness or real anger, then I'm not allowing myself to experience real joy or real excitement either, right? Like we only, how we do one thing is how we do everything. So it's, while they might be, at opposite ends of the pole in terms of the type of emotion it is, I'm only allowing myself to feel so much, and that is it's a real fun evolution right now
Does
because
it does it feel like if you were to let it all out, it would be like a mania kind of feeling?
right. And I
Yeah,
don't
definitely a mania.
of
Mine
everything.
goes from absolute mania to like bottomed out.
That's when I know I would get to that place where I'm like, I'm getting really close to where like I either need to like I wish I would die or I just
Mm-hmm.
have to let it all go.
Yeah.
And it's like just let it all go. Like and you
Yes.
blow it up and
Mm-hmm.
then you come back to like what is it that I actually want my life to look like? Like when I'm striving and I'm trying to get all these things done or whatever it is I'm doing in my life, what is the end goal? Is it me
Right.
living in Costa Rica eating ice cream? Like
Mm-hmm.
doing yoga? Like what's the energy of that
Mm-hmm.
I can bring into my current life and in my
Yes.
acceptance of the day to day?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm trying to get there, then why not just have it now?
Right. I agree. Why not
Yeah.
just have it now? Because I don't need that circumstance in order for me to have it now, right? Like there's something in my life that right now in this moment I can come into presence. I can love and accept myself. I can love and accept the overwhelm, the grief, the sadness, the anger, right? Like those are the things that we're told are bad. And I think they're so important. It's so important that we experience all of it. And by experiencing all of it, then I get to that place of a loving acceptance and compassion. And that is ultimately right where I want to live.
Yeah. So my other question for you guys is, what is it that you're motivated by?
Okay, so recap the questions. What are the top 4 priorities?
Yeah, what are your current priorities, and do they match up with how you actually live your life?
And what you're doing, how you're spending your time, like compare and contrast those. And where are the gaps? Like, okay, you're saying this is the priority. Where can you see, actually do like a calendar, right? And look at your day and say, like, just one day track it all. Like, what did you do? And did it match what it is you're saying is important to you? And then the last question was what?
I lost it.
Well,
What did I say?
you just said it. You
What is
just
it
said
that you're motivated by?
what
Yeah.
is it?
So what's your motivated by? So I know that my self-esteem is motivated by being enough.
Mm-hmm.
But when I start, like, my life is starting to have that nice cadence where I'm like, I have a little bit that I'm doing, but I also have an appropriate amount of downtime.
Mm-hmm.
My mind, because I'm used to a mold of normal from
Mm-hmm.
before 18 years old,
Mm-hmm.
my mold of normal in my brain says that's not busy enough. That's lazy. That's
Mm-hmm.
not good enough. You could do
Mm-hmm.
better. And so I notice that I will get bored when I'm not too busy.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to catch myself.
Mm-hmm.
What is that original framework? And
Mm-hmm.
when I start feeling too light, I'm trying to weigh myself down so that it
Mm-hmm.
feels normal.
Yeah. Yeah. So that you go back into that place that you're subconsciously familiar with, right? Because your brain likes what's familiar. It always wants to keep going back to what's familiar because it believes it's safe and it thinks anything outside of that is death. And so it's, it's why we do have a hard time frequently making big shifts without some type of subconscious work.
Well, I love that's why I really love 12 steps, and I love the ACA, and I love Codependence Anonymous, and I love yoga and the 12 steps. Because if you don't know where you came from, how are you going to recognize the patterns
Mm-hmm.
so that you can go, oh, that's how it used to be. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I keep trying to recreate that situation.
Yes. And even knowing how I used to be, right? So even, okay, outside of, yes, understanding generational patterns is very, very important. And also understanding myself at the level of this is the person I used to be, and when I see myself like, trying to go back there, I'm like, oh, no, no. I know it might feel good. There might be like that sense of satisfaction or like not satisfaction, but that sense of like, okay. Even if it's something we don't like, even if we dislike it, even if we dislike the pattern, even if we dislike that version of ourselves, there's something, it's so familiar to us that there's just that feeling of relief. That's like, oh God, thank you.
Right. I had a realization. I had a toxic friendship that I recently have been able to clear.
Mm-hmm.
And
Congratulations, because
I
that's
kept
very
trying to
hard.
figure out what was the psychology. Thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to figure out what was it that was upsetting me about the situation. And I realized what it was. It was guilt tripping energy. And I already, have struggled with the pattern of I'm not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Mm-hmm.
person made me feel like I wasn't ever enough that I could do for their friendship.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, that's what it is. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
if you're interested in that article, I posted it on my Facebook this morning.
Nice.
But yeah, it is helpful knowing what's going on around you And so I try to keep the analyzing to my, to my personal.
Yes, absolutely.
Easy to get caught up in analyzing other people and then not taking any responsibility.
Right. And then it's
Oh,
like, oh, it's your fault. And it's your fault. And your fault. Right.
you're the narcissist.
Was that posted in your Facebook under your name or under the?
It's under my name, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
But
the
the
story of it goes in there in the little article. It's like the mother that goes to the son. He's come to visit for a holiday, and she's saying he's getting ready to leave, early. And she's like, "Well, why do you have to go? Why are you leaving me?"
mm,
It's a very unconscious thing the mother is saying. She's saying, "I love you, I miss you, don't abandon me or forget me." He's
right.
hearing, "You're overbearing."
Like, I can't do this. I can't possibly meet those needs. I have no idea what it is you need. This is too overwhelming for me as your child. I shouldn't be responsible for this. And yeah,
Yeah. It's
I
just,
have that had
and
it big time.
I love that we can have these discussions. And, as far as like my holistic toolbox is, like, I use my oils, I use my breathing techniques. I go outside and I breathe in nature and I connect with my higher power. I do it in
Mm,
prayer.
I love nature. I love the
Today,
sun.
ginger was really pinging me. Like, I really, really needed that ginger. And
Kim, stop it, because this afternoon, I was like, ginger. I mean, that's a strange one to all of a sudden want to be like, feel called to. I mean, it's a real zinger. That's so great that we were like feeling each other.
well, did you read what it says in the Essential Emotions book about it?
Not today.
Oh, well, I know for a
Before.
fact it's for the victim mentality.
Oh, I was like,
Yeah, it's like, no, like, you can drop that part of
mm,
yourself, you know?
mm-hmm. I
So,
have it right here.
oh, you have the
Yeah,
book?
you can let go. You can let go of that version of you, of that identity.
So what you would do, it's helpful to have that book. Let me grab it so you can.
It is. I have, no, the oil right here. I can read it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Okay. Ginger. Ginger holds no reservations. No duh. This oil has a purpose and will fulfill it. Ginger powerfully persuades individuals to be fully present and participate in life. It addresses deep patterns of victim mentality, which is evidenced by feelings of powerlessness, believing everything is outside one's control, refusing to take responsibility for your life, or blaming life circumstances on other people or outside influences. Ginger empowers individuals in taking complete responsibility for their own circumstances. I could not agree more with that. Just in general, is a philosophy and in what we're talking about tonight, right? Just if I'm saying that someone else is responsible, if I haven't set a boundary, what that does is puts the power in the hands of everyone and everything outside of me. It leaves me just feeling like I have zero say, zero control in my life, and everyone else is in control of me. And that, if you think about it, it's so backwards, when we're saying and that's like being a people pleaser and having the codependent tendencies. That's exactly what we're doing, is saying we're only worth whatever you say I'm worth, right? I'm only good enough if I do these things and you give me this feedback and this validation that says so. And when we can change that and put the power in our own hands and decide what's good enough for us, what we want to prioritize, how we're going to take those steps, what motivates us so that we know, so that we continue. Like, what's important enough for you to take these steps and create the boundaries for yourself? That's a question that I like to ask myself. What's important enough for me to do that?
Yeah. Well, and definitely this recreating your reality,
Mm-hmm,
with the blow it up energy, it's
mm-hmm.
totally about saying, what am I going to do for me, and how am I going to put boundaries for me
For
and
me.
protect myself?
Mm-hmm.
So with the ginger, this is what I would have you do, is you're going to take a drop in your hand, you rub together. This is a really powerful tool, like just like what Meg just said. When people feel out of control, you have to identify some sensations. They say 5 sensations. So keeping your feet flat and rubbing your hands together vigorously, that immediately gets you out of your head and back into your body.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to find 2 things to smell.
Mm.
So having the scent, which is already a powerful medicine that's crossing your blood-brain barrier and it's affecting your hormones, getting your serotonin back up and getting that cortisol back down. And then you're going
Yeah.
to connecting back to the breath is a really great way to get the control back. So breathing in the nose and out the nose, expanding the diaphragm. They're very helpful tools that in a moment when a person feels out of control, that they can find what they can control and they can get grounded again.
Yes. And I also like this, the tool of squeezing everything, like toes, eyes, fingers, just everything like super, super tight, even if it's just for like, 10 seconds, as tight as you can, squeezing everything. And then just letting it go. Both of those things, what you just said and what I just did, I feel bring me just right back into here. So I do have now that sense of like, okay, I am in control.
Yeah, you can drop back into your body.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, I think we did an amazing job.
I
And
agree.
this, Meg, I'll send you the recording.
Okay, great.
This will be most likely a podcast episode soon.
Oh, yay. This is exciting.
Yeah. So then we can share it.
Yes. Good stuff.
Thanks everybody
I'm
for
excited.
joining.
Yeah, I want the recording or somehow to connect with it when you get it situated.
I'll get it uploaded and I'll send
Thanks
it.
for
Yeah.
sharing, Donna.
All right. Good to see you all.
You too. Good night, ladies.
You guys have a good night.
You too. Bye.